I would like to thank you for meeting with me today. My name is Mark Agnew. I'm a secondary ITD teacher on PTT, and after partaking in EDSE12025 Engaging Learners Classroom Management and Neuroscience, I'd like to discuss the impacts of understanding educational neuroscience, the breadth of its reach in education, and how it can boost the outcomes of students in our 21st century classrooms. The brain is a social organ that requires stimulation and social connection to operate correctly, as these experiences create new neural connections and maintain existing neural pathways through a process referred to as neuroplasticity. Cozzolino suggests that the brain can be viewed like an infant child, in that with positive connections and care, the brain will grow and flourish. However, neglecting the brain will limit its growth and stunt its potential. Adolescent students are in the midst of physical and emotional changes. They can exhibit high levels of risk-taking behaviours and can be easily confused by their social interactions and self-identity. They find it challenging to manage their emotions due to changes undergoing in their brain's frontal lobe, which is the area of the brain which regulates emotional and cognitive faculties, and its development is the leading cause of why adolescents are perceived as being moody, impulsive, or inattentive. Brains can receive two main pieces of data at any given time. This is too much for the brain to process, so the reticular activating system, or the RAS, quickly filters data and assigns it into levels of importance which is unique to the individual. Delving further into neuroplasticity unveils the brain's remarkable four-step process where stimulus is perceived and encoded, consolidated, and moved into storage, which is available for recall when needed. Cognitive load is the amount of mental effort required to process and analyze new concepts. There are two types, intrinsic and extraneous. Intrinsic is the amount of complexity involved in learning a specific concept, whereas extraneous is the mental effort that is unnecessarily used when tasks aren't planned properly or are taught inefficiently, and this wastes educational effort on pursuits that do not benefit students. It seems to almost be an educational cliche now to say that the first pillar of managing behaviours is to establish clear rules and expectations for all. Predictable structures help lower cognitive load and stress, making students feel safe and secure. The brain thrives on routine, which can diminish the frequency of disruptive behaviours. In truth, this is part of a bigger first step on the journey to building a positive rapport with your students. Having rapport and respectful understanding of each other makes managing classroom behaviours a whole lot easier. The AT3 standards compels educators to know their students and how they learn, which is rooted deeply in neuroscience by findings that social bonds release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which promotes trust and cooperation. Allowing time to connect with students significantly impacts their behaviour and engagement. Effective classroom management, like addressing challenging behaviours, requires an understanding of both behavioural strategies and the neuroscience underpinning student behaviour. Neuroscience reveals that challenging behaviours often stem from stress responses in the brain, primarily governed by the amygdala. When students feel threatened or anxious, the amygdala triggers a fight or flight response, leading to behaviours such as defiance, withdrawal, or disengagement. To mitigate these responses, all educators must create a brain-friendly, supportive classroom environment. One effective approach is incorporating mindfulness practices. Research suggests these practices help activate the prefrontal cortex, thereby reducing the need for a fight or flight response. Simple techniques like short settling activities can significantly decrease stress and improve emotional regulation. Another brain-friendly response is conscious discipline, a trauma-informed self-regulation concept seated firmly in neuroscience, psychology, and child development research. CD imparts adults with the ability to project safety and connectedness, opening the potential for conducive learning and problem-solving to flourish. Both educator and student gain self-efficacy, control their emotions, and by doing this, allow for a new potential to be discovered. Positive behaviour for learning is a concept which can be used in a classroom and has a whole school approach to work at constantly modelling and improving student behaviours by proactive redirection. PBL focuses on providing students with scenarios to exhibit personal growth, improve social and emotional skills, and become empathetic, responsible decision makers who establish positive relationships and exhibit resilience. Additionally, promoting a growth mindset can transform classroom dynamics. Studies by Cowardwell show that when students believe their abilities can develop through effort, it enhances resilience and neuroplasticity. Encouraging positive self-talk and celebrating the small wins helps the mindset and can improve behaviours. If a student says they can't do something, be mindful to prompt them to add the word yet to the end of the sentence and remind them that everything is difficult the first time you try it. Schools mirror a student's social environment, and evidence suggests being low socioeconomic can adversely affect students' educational outcomes. Simply put, some students won't get enough food from their home, and research has shown that hungry students can lose 2 hours of learning a day from hunger, affecting their ability to focus. This equates to an entire lost term annually. An educator can balance social justice by telling students where breakfast club is and reminding them that being ready for learning involves more than just being present. As implications for teaching, firstly, understanding that the adolescent student brain is still developing is imperative. As educators, we must recognise students' behaviours not as deliberate defiance, but as a frustrating part of their developmental journey. One practical strategy is implementing mindfulness and stress reduction techniques in the classroom. For example, starting classes with a short selling activity can ground students and reduce impulsive behaviours. To get students into an intrinsic cognitive load state, it's best to plan lessons that are both challenging and engaging for all. The most effective learning involves a moderate level of stress, which opens the pathways to higher order functioning, memory formation, and stimulates numerous senses. If an educator can make tasks relevant to a student's life, their RAS will order the learning in class as a higher level of importance, and their recollections will be faster and stronger. Repetition of tasks and learning is needed to reinforce previous learnings and strengthen neural pathways. Professor Cosolino tells us that teachers would do well to make sure they repeat important points in the lessons to deepen learning. He goes on that given that visual, semantic, sensory, motor, and emotional neural networks all contain their own memory systems, multi-channel learning engaging each of these networks increases the likelihood of both storage and recall. This can also be benefited by chunking lesson content into 20-minute intervals and allowing for quick 5-minute breaks to give students time to reset and be ready for learning again. When we take breaks, our brains aren't idle. They're essentially catching up on what they were trying to process. Students can come to a moment of realization after learning breaks once their brain is caught up to the information it was trying to process, creating what's known as the aha moment. This active learning is most advantageous when it encompasses a mixture of lower order to higher order thinking, which stimulates several areas of the brain and leads to memory formation. Incorporating movement into lessons can be incredibly beneficial. Research indicates that physical activity boosts brain function and improves mood and behavior. Simple activities like brain breaks, where students stand and stretch, can help reset their focus and reduce restlessness. Diverse classrooms mean that set lesson plans can always be rigidly adhered to suit every learner. Inquiry-based learning focuses around each student choosing their own learning. This strategy is largely motivated by triggering the curiosity of students and letting them research, investigate, and come to conclusions based on well-researched discoveries. It is recommended to get students to nominate what they believe is challenging for them as individuals and focus on that as a learning goal. In conclusion, by leveraging neuroscience insights, we can create classrooms that not only manage challenging behaviors, but also promote overall brain health and development. Through mindfulness, structured environments, positive reinforcement, movement, and emotional regulation, we can help our students thrive both academically and personally in a 21st century Australian classroom.